Hello, and welcome to Health and Fitness Redefined. I'm your host, Anthony Amen. Join me today as we take a dive into the world of health and fitness, where we're going to overcome adversity, depict fact versus fiction, and see health and fitness in a whole new light. Before we introduce today's guest, guys, don't forget, go check over and head over to our Patreon account. Go into the show notes. You'll see it right there. I'm asking all gym owners, personal trainers, if you're somebody who wants to take your business to the next level and learn from me, I'm happy to help you guys out. So please shoot on over there. But without further ado, let's welcome to the show a really exciting guest who's bringing entrepreneurship and health together. Just a little pre-talk with him has really opened up some lights about what it's like to take entrepreneurial and health and put it together and come up with platforms to help that group of people who really just put their health last and put business first. So without further ado, let's welcome to the show, Steve. Steve, it is an absolute pleasure to have you on today.
Hey, it's great to be here, brother. Yeah, hey,
really excited.
I really want to acknowledge you for the work that you're doing in the world, the impact, your podcast rocks. It's a great place for people to be. You are redefining this whole process. Old models are dying, and you're the true blue thing.
I appreciate it,
everybody.
We want to hear about you, though. So I just want to ask, man. I know we were talking a little bit pre-show, so we're gonna bring the audience into.
Yeah, let's do it.
How did you heal yourself from autoimmune? Just kind of take us back and work us through that a little bit.
Well, it's a long conversation. Where do I start? I want to kind of circle back, first of all, to my beginning in service of your listeners, because my story really is about a lot of you that just have not taken your health seriously. And I remember just growing up with two brothers that were athletes. My dad was semi-pro. I just was the guy that just was not coordinated and had no interest and felt insecure around them. But I became a successful entrepreneur about 18. And then here I'm 26 years old at my first, at a leadership convention. And there's about 4,000 people there. And the keynote speaker just ended the keynote by saying, I got a question for you. You got 2 minutes to write down your answer. What are you sick and tired of being sick and tired of? And I wrote, I hate my body. And it was right before my 10-year reunion. I came home. My wife had been working with a top 10 Miss Olympia. That just means, bodybuilding for women and men. And I ended up jumping into this small gym with all these, muscular, buffed people. Now, if I would have had a 24-hour fitness or another gym to go to back then, I probably would have. I didn't know what I didn't know. So that journey actually became destructive for me. I never did steroids. That wasn't anything that I chose to do. But I will tell you, the things that I learned couldn't sustain my health as I got older. The radical meal plans, some of these radical meal plans are just like toxic on your liver and your kidneys and your gallbladder. And then the supplements that I took, in my mind, I thought all supplements were healthy. I had no idea that 92% of the supplements on the market have chemicals in them. Shit, 87% are owned by a pharmaceutical drug company disguised as a supplement company. And some of the sweeteners that are in these supplements, and even 68 bar-coded ingredients disguised as sugar, they are worse than a straight shot of 151. With that said, you have to be aware of the experts that you start to work with. And so really my storyline is God, Anthony, where do you want to go? Everything that I learned, I thought was great for me. It wasn't like I wasn't working out and sticking to a meal regimen. I thought everything that I was doing was working. And then all of a sudden, one day, my gut just quit. I'm out to dinner, a vegan restaurant with my 12-year-old at that time. And when your gut quits, it's done. It's done. And all of a sudden, I'm bloating all the time. I can't digest my food. Elimination's terrible. Within 48 hours, I got into my doctor, and then did a full blood panel, and it comes back. I look great. It looks great. I'm like, what the hell is the matter with me? Well, ironically, my son's mom Lynn, had been healing herself from 3rd stage breast cancer. And on this journey, I had so much judgment around her just not having a mastectomy. I never told her that, but I'm like, how if you die? I didn't know anything about what we call functional health. So I went to her, and she started to educate me. She had been utilizing the practices and the principles of the Hippocrates Clinic in Southern Florida. And I was led to naturopaths. Now, I had a naturopath when I did my show, but it certainly wasn't like the naturopaths that I worked with that helped heal my body. And it was a pretty rough 18 months for me. I had candida so bad. My bad bacteria was so out of alignment. I had brain fog. Here I'm traveling all over the United States doing all sorts of events, and a ton of clients and a whole coaching division of coaches, and shit had almost ruined my life. It almost took just completely almost ruined my life. So that's why I am so passionate. Lynn and I are so passionate about helping people take charge of their health, body, and mindset, which is really the most important part of it.
It's very interesting when you're talking about your story, how so much is going on at once. And I think that in of itself is another story, because a lot of people, they have one issue. Yeah, it's just, you get one thing is hard, but then 3 things is like, okay, how do I take this and approach it? So let's start with
Can we stay there for a minute? I want you to all hear what Anthony just said. I've been on 150 podcasts, and no one has said that to me. Great coaching. And what are we really talking about? A confused mind says no. We know those things that were habitual that work in our life. And we live in a time where people are overloaded with content. They say symbolically, we all have ADD or ADHD. I was going to grab my phone, but it's never here when I'm interviewing. But we are overloaded with content, and we have to be the gatekeeper of how we manage our thinking. And that's where it gets to be tough. That's why you look for experts. That was our conversation before. I looked at Anthony and I said to him, I remember walking into 24 Hour Fitness one day. Just noticing there's hardly anybody there. Like always, always. And I looked at the manager and I said, how many members do you have? He said, 10,800. And I said, where are they? I come here at all different times. I fit my time in. He said, well, maybe about 500 to 2,000 consistently 3 or 4 times a month. I said, why are the others paying? Are they paying every month? And he goes, yeah, they think they're going to show up tomorrow. Well, it's not that they don't want to, but you got to go hire somebody. You got to get somebody that gets you a whole template, a program all in place, or you won't follow through. It's just how it works, isn't it?
Yeah, it's everything in life. It's the accountability of having either outside accountability or internal accountability that makes you actually go show up and do something, which is why the previous episode we did about 4 weeks ago was talking about why personal training is so effective, because it has that outside accountability of someone there waiting for you, with also an internal accountability of I'm paying for this financially. So you have both aspects keeping you in check, which is why you're more likely to show up and actually follow a program. But I want to double back to where we were with your ex-wife, and I really want to just how did she know where to go when she figured out she had breast cancer? Where was her mind instantly went to that naturopathic point, or did she try the typical medicine first? Like what was the thought process through that?
Yeah, that's interesting. I don't know that I know that answer, but I'm thinking it's Tim. Tim was this guy. I mean, first of all, Lynn is a coach and she's a researcher. And one thing led to the next thing. But in that statement, I will tell you, many of you are living in a linear place. I'll say a linear mindset. You are in this pragmatic mindset in this universe that is so tapped into. Law of attraction is a thing. Even those of you that like are, love the Bible, it's in the Bible. Bring your tithes to the storehouse. Bring a portion of yourself. Offer it freely. Prove me now. And this says the Lord, if I will not open up the windows of heaven, pour upon you such a blessing, even you will not contain it. My soul is 2 steps ahead of me. Why do I know that? Because I was always in flight and fight mode. I was always trapped. I was just raised that way. You go, you show up, you do things, you're responsible. I was always in flight and fight mode. Even that is a challenge for your gut, because stress and anxiety create havoc for the gut. A kid that has gut issues will look at their parents and say, "Mommy, my stomach hurts." And really what it means is, I'm depressed, I have anxiety. But going back, it's like you can either be in fear about something or, oh my God, I got to find the right trainer. But when you start to tap in and start to think affirmative thoughts like, I'm excited about this new goal I have to get fit. I'm excited about this vision that I have to attract this ideal wellness plan. I'm ready to transform my body. I'm ready to step into a greater state of mindset. I know all the right people are going to show up, the ideal resources. That shit's right in your, it shows up in YouTube. It shows up in Google. All of a sudden you're getting emails and you don't even know where they're coming from because your soul's 2 steps ahead of you. Well, how do you get to that state? You need an environment that creates transformation. What does that mean? If your marriage was going south, you sure the heck wouldn't be just wishing it to get better. You'd find a counselor, you go to Marriage Encounter, you go to a church, and you'd start getting into some system. You need and want a hub to transform your life, and that's your morning ritual. That is, in fact, I got a whole program around that, a complimentary program called Steve's Miracle Morning Ritual. Nobody gets my morning but me. I got a whole template. Ideally, I like it to be 45 minutes. Can I do it in 15 minutes? Yeah, I got a reserve. What does that mean? It's time where you pause and you tap in. And I get it. There's a lot of information. I'm not going to go into those details, but a guided meditation. But if you knew what you wanted for relational, physical, spiritual, and professional, and you wrote affirmations, after a while, you train your brain how to think. And when you train your brain how to think, like, many of you that have just like maybe stepped into a wellness plan, here's my generic affirmation for that. When I go south on my ideal health objectives, I bless, release, recommit, and get back on track, knowing I will eventually arrive at my ideal destination. Because 90% of people are sabotaging, and it just takes a little bit of time. So going back, like, she just started to attract this information, and then she found herself at Hippocrates Health Institute. And I'll just say that it's pretty simple to transform your health when it comes down to it. If you and I were having a conversation at an airport, you're getting ready to board, and I do health and I know what you do, and you're like, "Hey Steve, give me some advice before I board." I'd say, sweat every day. We live in a world where toxins are in your water. Fluoride, all sorts of stuff. Sweat every day. What does that mean? You sweat externally, you sweat internally, or both. Internally means you make it happen. You get on a cardio machine. Externally means you get into a sauna. Both means you do something like I do twice a week, Bikram yoga. Second, go green. Man, look at apes. They're healthy. They're muscular. Even those of you that learned what I learned and it didn't sustain me, got me sick, go green. 90% of what I do is green. I grow my own sprouts. I intermittent fast. It's a long conversation, but go green. Third, eliminate the sugar, diminish the sugar. There's so many bar-coded ingredients that just are disguised as sugar. And I don't even have to read them, even though we have an ebook that you can get in part of our program called Toxic Ingredients to Avoid Chemicals and Toxic Ingredients. I will tell you, it's pretty simple. when you're just eating earth, what comes from the earth.
You dove into a lot there, and you answered already half my questions that I had in mind. But I want
Keep
to,
going. I have a lot more to share.
yeah, I want to put this all together, and I really want more of a definitive thought process from where you were. So we spoke about your ex-wife. We were talking about that, and I want to take it back to you. You have an external stressor with what's going on with her. You have kids. You have a lot going on in your life. You're trying to take your entrepreneurship up to the next level. Then you start getting gas, bloating, and a
Oh,
whole bunch of GI distress
yes.
through all
Mhm.
of this. You're pertaining it back to chemicals, and then I'm relating it to what you're putting in your body plus all the stress in your life, because stress does, like you said, wreak havoc on
Mhm.
your GI tract. So I guess my question is, how did you know, or when did you decide to start those morning rituals? Was it after all of this kind of happened, or was it already kind of before, and this basically solidified that, hey, I need to
Mhm.
take my life back in control. I need to take control of all of these external stresses going on and move forward with it to better myself. Walk us through that a little bit.
Well, I've had this entrepreneur brand for 22 years. Now I'm going back 12 years ago, right? It's about
Yeah.
12 years ago when my gut quit. And I I've had these entrepreneurs that have built these thriving, I mean, they didn't before they worked with us. I have a leadership program called the $1 Million Protege Leadership Program. And within that, I started, thinking about everything that I had done with them. Like I have all these curriculums that help them build these thriving teams, but their marriages got better. Their health got better. Their every aspect that they wanted in that life. They didn't hire me for that, but that's all part of the program that I had. And so I started to, first of all, look at what I was like you, led to experts. The first thing that I did for 12 weeks is I only ate grapefruit every friggin' day for 12 weeks. I went from 225, maybe 6% body fat to 175 pounds. I didn't know what the hell colonics was. And colonics is like a spa enema. That led me down that path. Like, meaning I didn't have to figure it out. Lynn had already been on that journey to figure out how to lead me to these experts and support me with this process that she was getting familiar with. But when you really think about it, it comes down to three questions. The reason my life has been successful is I hired a coach many years ago. I've never not had a coach every year. And I started realizing how to self coach. My power question always to everyone is, what do you think you need to change about yourself and what you're doing to get this outcome that you want? First question is, am I ready for change? Am I ready to make a change? Yes, I was. Second, what's my plan? What's my wellness plan? What's my ideal wellness plan? What do I need to change? And third, what poor habits do I need to shift to ideal habits? And notice those triggers. So I started down this journey of just working with these coaches. And what got me sick, the two things that got me sick were these radical meal plans. I mean, your body does not digest carbs, produce, and fruit at the same time, and animal meat, all different times. It's confusing to the digestive system. And if you're eating constantly, it has no time to relax, to chill. And so I was taught to eat every 2 hours. And I'm eating white rice, which is basically sugar. I'm eating animal fat, which, you know what, some of you, I don't believe one regimen fits all. There's actually blood types that do best with protein. In fact, the healer, the chiropractor, the third one that I hired that really helped me heal, helped me see that my body just was done with carbs. I was better to eat protein, not always animal protein, but could with my blood type. And so, the process of going through that, I first of all started just getting educated. And you have to just stay on the journey, man. You're the gatekeeper of your reality. My choices got me there. What does that mean? The choices we make yesterday bring us to where we are today. We can't change that, but we can learn from that. The choices we make today are going to determine our tomorrow. So I needed to start researching, and everything that I was taught was wrong. I was on $800 worth of supplements every month from this naturopath that worked with me 16 weeks before my first show. And then the second show I did, which was within a year, was the Mr. Oregon bodybuilding contest. Now I won it. That wasn't the point. But you know what I do want to say, and I'm going to circle back. I'm jumping around a little bit, but when I had friends at 44 telling me, dude, you got to do a show. You got to do a show. Like, you're in such great shape. I really didn't want to. I loved my life, but I wanted a challenge. And I thought, I don't care if I win, but I'm going to be in the best possible shape of my life. Hear me out. Physically, spiritually, emotionally, and intellectually. So then I created these non-negotiables. And I know what these like non-negotiables are about, right? Like, it's just making a decision. Nothing gets in the way. But it was one of the happiest times of my life, because what I realized was we have all these things in life that are all controlled by other people. Your spouse makes a move, it affects you. Your kids make a move, your coworkers make a move, your boss makes a move. I realized it was the only thing in my life that I really had full control over. Can you believe that? Like, you actually can create any reality with your health, and it doesn't involve anyone. And it was just like life changing for me. Well, after my gut quit, I had to start reassessing what I was doing. I even created a 100% chemical free supplement line. I searched for a chemical free supplement line. Back then, couldn't find it. Not like what I was really after. And so I looked for a formulator that could create me my own chemical free products. And that's when the dream became apparent that Lynn and I were ready to actually step into a philanthropic movement, help people. And the greatest decisions that I made was sweat every day. I had so much inflammation. It was so subtle. I didn't even realize. I look back in pictures, I look so much older, but I sweat every day. Second, I create a whole simple meal plan that I follow. I've got an incredible nutrient green smoothie that rocks any other smoothie out there. Even believe the seeds in this smoothie. By the way, I keep talking about these resources. You jump into Facebook, search Body Temple Community, ask for approval. It's our philanthropic movement. There's so many free resources in the file section. And there's numerous coaches answering questions. We go live once a week. There's all sorts of resources. It's a great place to just get many of the things that I've talked about during this interview.
Yeah, that was a lot. So I was sitting here, it's a lot to digest, and I want to ask you and kind of dive into little specifics of it. But first, guys, we're just going to take a quick break from our sponsors, and we'll be right back. For us, we know what it's like to feel unhealthy, depressed, and downright defeated. We want to show others there is a right way, and through fitness, you could do anything you set your mind to. Fitness can give you that motivation, confidence, energy you need to bridge that mental gap and prevent you from missing important life events. We understand it's about feeling better, living longer, and being good examples for our kids. We understand this because we live it. And for us, that's the redefined difference. What's up, everybody, and welcome back. We have Steve here. We are digesting what he went pre-sponsorship of everything that kind of happened in his life, and you hit like 15 points. So I'm going to target 2 of them that I think is something that could be the biggest takeaways. And you may agree or just not disagree with me, but these are one of the most 2 influential parts that you mentioned. The first one is, you mentioned it way back, but it's being reactive versus proactive.
Mm-hmm.
And what I mean by that is we live in a very reactive world. Your phone bangs, you go answer. An email comes in, you go answer it. Some external factor says, hey, Anthony, go do this, and you go do it. And then your day's gone, and you feel like you accomplished nothing. And it's just really overwhelming, and over time that kind of builds on you, as opposed to a proactive sentiment where you learn to put away those things that cause reactive response to as much as you can control, and having what you mentioned, either affirmations or something to do to get done today. You're being proactive to handle future problems. Where I'm coming in, I'm saying, today I need to get this part of my life done. And you go on and you make sure that gets done before you sit there and be reactive to all your emails and texts you got for the day. That's the first one. The second one we've really dived into on previous shows, and you just pretty much confirmed everything I said in those shows. So thank you for that. You didn't even know you did it. But
you're there.
It's controlling your controllables in life, taking responsibility for things that are inside your control instead of worrying about things that are external factors or things that are actually uncontrollable in any way, shape, or form. And you mentioned that specifically with you for your diet and your health, where you said you were learning how to take responsibility for what you're putting in your body, and it helped you overall. And that led into what you mentioned with your community, where you took these two things and you said that people would come to you for X advice, but they would always get XYZ all the way down the line as far as things that actually helped them with, because instead of taking this stress of this one thing, let's say it's a marriage stress and that's on your mind, it's going to affect your work performance, it's going to affect your health, because we're horrible as humans to kind of put things in their pockets, if that's a good explanation of it. I can't sit here and say, if I'm having marriage stress, that I'm not going to go take it out on my job or my health. I'm going to go eat. It's just impossible. So it's learning to try to place things like that so it doesn't affect those outside performances. People bring their work home and bring their stress home, and that affects their relationships and their health. So it was a lot of points, and I know that was a
stay here. I get you. So in my world, what I hear you saying is, first of all, talking about personal power instead of circumstantial power. Second, we'll dive into that. Second, a confused mind says no. You need a plan. I mean, your life is either derives from osmosis, happenstance, or plan. And third, the environment that creates it. Like when I used the example earlier about the marriage, there's an environment. You know, when people hire Anthony, there's a time, there's a space to focus on the outcome that they want. And then they go to that space, and then they have support, whether they were doing it on their own or they were hiring Anthony. That's where the habit creates. And that's really what you want. So let's talk about personal power and circumstantial power. I mean, all through the pandemic, we have seen millions and millions of people live in circumstances. Hell, I got tired of listening to people talk about it. And I would just say, well, what are you going to do about it? Like, what do you mean? What am I going to do about it? And I'd say, well, how is it serving you? Unless you're going to do something about it. Like, what's in your realm of control? Your thoughts, your attitude, your disposition, your choices. Even that's tough enough. So in that, it's like, own that you create your own reality. If you step out of victim archetype, or that confused mind, you just start to say, I am going to focus on what I can control, and I'm going to shift my health. I'm going to take charge. That's my tagline: take charge of your health, body, and mindset. And so that's first. Second, you need a plan. A confused mind says no. I see that most people just don't have a plan, but not just a plan, a customized plan. These old models are dying. You know, the Weight Watchers is dying. The one fits all is dying. I mean, there's two damn simple questions that I ask people all the time. Anytime I'm talking to them about their health: what do you know you eat and drink that's good for you, or you have in the past? And what do you know you eat and drink that isn't good for you? There's 70% of what they share right there is a thread. I don't need to like throw out my whole advice. I can work with that. And so you need a plan. And this free gift that we have for you called a 15-day Kickstart Detox Plan is all about a customized plan. That's 1/5 of it. I'll talk about that in a second. And then third, you need a hub to transform your life. I read the book Power of Focus by Mark Victor Hansen, I think, Jack Canfield, one of the two. Peter Daniels became a multi-millionaire, billionaire that went bankrupt 3 times. And then he stepped into commercial real estate. There's only one difference he made in his life. And all day Friday, from 8 a.m. to 5 o'clock, he sat there and thought about his goals and researched. Like, do you have a hub? You know, when you create, for example, what we do for people, an ideal wellness plan, and you're reading through it every day, and you're starting to train your brain how to think. You're starting to take the lack of clarity into pragmatic form, like a shopping list. You know, I don't go to, I'd go to the store. I'm out in 10 minutes. I know exactly what I'm there to pick up. It's on my shopping list. It's on in my document. I highlight what I need. I go pick it up and I'm done. Like you train your brain how to think. So in all of this, that's some of the reasons I don't send people to my site, because I know what I want for them is this huge investment we made to create this whole program before we got on podcast, which is called the 15-day Kickstart Detox Plan. Now, it's a catchy name. I like it. But what is that really about? 15 days to kickstart your health. But in that is a plan to change your life. And what it's about is understanding the power of detoxing and gut restoration consistently. Third, how to shift your poor habits to ideal habits. When I started to get into this field, I felt pretty insecure, especially about the science. And then I started researching all of these health coaching programs. I'm like, damn, they're missing the mindset, which is why my entrepreneur brand just blew up, like thousands of followers. Because you got to know, are you operating from your frontal lobe or your primary brain? What does that mean? An animal. You know, your primary brain is an animal. Scientists say the frontal lobe, which I call the free will gift from our creator, is 40% of our brain. And it's all about awareness. And in all of that, scientists say it has if it were to be translated into megabytes, it has the capacity of 1 trillion megabytes, and most human beings are operating from 2000. I can help you train your brain. Our coaches can help you, anybody. I mean, it's when you train your brain how to think, you are going to realize everything in your life will start to change. And you will notice what Anthony talked about, reactionary versus responsive. You become present. You start noticing that the tomorrow is created always, the future in the present. And then last, you will learn how to create what we call a customized wellness plan. We knew that everybody wouldn't do everything that we wanted to share in that Kickstart Detox. That's why it took us 8 months to put together the gut detox manual, the body temple shopping guide, the toxic chemicals, ingredients to avoid. And we realized some people just are going to need to stick their feet in it. And so for that 15 days, we're going to teach them habit, a light plan. And then we knew there would be a group that wanted to take it to the next level. And then we realized there would be people that were dealing with very challenging health complications or manifesting that. And we needed to think about that group. And if you are somewhat intrigued by what I've been sharing with you, wait till you hear Lynn. She goes through the whole customized wellness plan. It's amazing. So you'll see it in the show notes. It's called, just remember the name, Body Temple Company, Kickstart Your Health, bodytemplekickstart.com. And after you register, you will notice there's a 43-minute video that will be sent to your email address. You can also text it. We get hundreds of emails every week that say I didn't get it, and email is just not reliable. And so you can enter your cell number and we'll text it to you. But this is where Anthony was earlier. Are you going to watch it? This is where the truth comes out. You don't follow through with it. Some of you right now are listening to this. You're at the gym and you're intrigued and you think you're going to remember. Bullshit. I mean, I have Post-it notes everywhere because sometimes you get out of the shower, don't want to forget the thought. Everything goes to a home in my world. That's how I can like manage everything that I do and still have a great life outside of that. And so that's the deal. You'll notice that there's 5 steps under the video. And the first step is a 3-minute evaluation. And in that 3-minute evaluation, the reason it's 3 minutes is we've thought of everything you'd want, not want. You're going to check the boxes. Everybody says it was like an eye opener for me. It will spit out this report. You'll know what you want and you'll know what you won't want. And just during these 15 days, we're going to take you through 2 pathways, the choices you make and the supplements or experts that you work with, and more like acupuncture, the things that you do outside of your choices that can support you in getting you what you want. And you'll notice that we lead you to a 100% chemical-free, purify gut detox formula. You will lose weight. You will eliminate excess waste that's been in your body for sometimes years, like tar that you can't get rid of. And it's all in that whole program.
I love the program idea, and I love what you guys are doing with it. I want to talk about just 2 specifics. I want to start with
You're a great interview, by the way. You're a phenomenal coach.
Appreciate it. So here's my mindset, right? So the first thing I'm thinking about when you started talking about the group and the community you have, I love that. And I'm going to explain why for listeners. And I'm sure some of you have probably heard this before if you're in other entrepreneurial groups, but you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with.
Jim Road!
It's true. So, for example, if, like kind of what you said, if you want to lose weight, go hang out with healthy people.
Thank you.
If you want to be successful in finances, go hang out with financially successful people. Right. If you want to run a Spartan race, go hang out with 5 people who are avid Spartan race runners. And in that, you learn to pick up these people's habits and learn from them and do things that they're doing, and you will eventually become that, if not better. It is more true than I really even can say to people listening to this show, because once I took myself away from outside stressors and downers, and it makes you feel like you can't accomplish things in life, and then I put myself around people that are more successful in business than I am, then I started being successful. Yeah. So it's more true than you can care to admit, and doing things like you said, reading, even if you can't get in front of these people, it's reading their books, getting involved in their life as much as you can through free programs that you were talking about before and free communities. Absolutely love that. So if you want to stay healthy, guys, hang out with 5 healthy people that you think is ideal. Now I'm going to move on. So I'm going to move into...
Can I add one little thing to that?
Sure.
God, dude, I love what you just said. Like, I remember this first coach saying to me, she didn't really understand what I did professionally, but she changed my life. And she said, well, who knows? Like, I wanted to be like one of the top producers. I was in sales and had built a $19 million a year business. And she said, who knows? And in the company, and she threw out I threw out a couple of people, and she said, well, I have a challenge for you to call them and ask them for support, like interview them, just have a conversation with them. And I go, I'm not comfortable with that. You know what? I mean, it means self-worth. You know, you might be listening to this and like you're super overweight and you want to go up and talk to the most fit coworker and asking her if you could take her out to lunch or go for a walk on a break. And you're just right now caving with that thought. We make all these assumptions about people that just aren't true. And I will tell you, we are the beneficiary of that service. Like, go find your people, like you said. Keep going. Sorry about that.
It's okay. But just even to add on, I guess people are more willing to help than we assume they are. And they will embrace it because you're willing to come up and say, hey, help me with this.
Compliment.
Yeah, it's a huge compliment, guys. So please don't be afraid. The next thing I'm moving to is actually your detox program. So here's where I lie with detox, and I want you to kind of work me through it a little bit and explain a little more in detail.
Yeah, add to it too, brother.
So I personally believe our body, which is true, always detoxes itself. Our kidneys are always working to get rid of toxins, flush them out. So that's in and of itself. He did also mention gut microbes, which I think are super important. And actually, if you listen to our top 5 episodes that came out a little before this, you'll know that that was our most listened to episode, was put your microbes on a diet, really taking control of your gut health and really understanding that there's good bacteria, bad bacteria, and it helps digest certain things. And it's more important than...
That's my expertise too. Like 90% of you are walking around with leaky gut and you don't even know it.
Yeah.
You're in the first couple of stages, you don't even know it. And all of a sudden, everything's just like changing.
Yeah. And it comes a lot to these overproduced chemicals from these fake ingredients that we're just putting inside our bodies, and this going to fast food restaurants to get a quick meal, not realizing it's destroying your gut and ripping away gut microbes. Most people suffer from fiber deficiency, which is an episode I did over a year ago about why fiber is the most important thing you could put inside your body.
Would you say fiber?
Fiber. Love fiber. I'm a huge fanatic over it, but it's little things like that. Where I kind of draw the line, and I want you to kind of explain to me and explain to our audience, is I don't believe in detoxes where it's you need to drink this special juice and it will help clear you out. I do believe in drinking a lot of water, eating the right healthy foods, and your body will naturally go into a homeostasis of having the good, positive bacteria. So walk us through what that difference is between these detoxes where people say, I just went on a detox program and I'm drinking insert juice from product here and I lost weight. Well, yeah, you just lost water weight. But walk us through the differences on both of that.
Well, yeah. Okay. So a good question, brother. Anthony, yeah. I would first of all start to say that, I mean, I eat food to heal. Like I know what I eat to heal. And if I'm going to buy a supplement, it damn well is going to be 100% chemical free. Like I get in the pandemic, there's a lot of different, and the virus, there's so many different choices and not one fit all. And here I had pretty serious autoimmune, don't have anymore. You can heal an autoimmune. I know you can heal your gut and restore your gut. You go online and read about it. They don't believe that. A lot of people don't believe that. A lot of experts don't believe that. Wrong. You can totally heal your gut. In all of that, there are products that can help you detox. Like I found this product. Like I remember one time going to the airport to do a keynote. I mean, I'm flying in to your neck of the woods, Pennsylvania. I'm dressed in a suit, ready to go. I'm about 6 months on my journey, and I bought this just before I found any kind of product. I bought this detox formula, and I'm in the middle of security, and I'm like ready to shit my pants. I just ran to the bathroom. It was so aggressive. But when I got on this product that I first was shipped to me it was a creation, like plastic bags. My waist was, after 2 weeks, continuous. The next day, it should look like a swirl or a cigar or like an S. And at the end of the day, I could probably get by without using toilet paper. That's how clean it is. Like you want to find something that is completely chemical free. And that's why I only created 3 products. I wanted a digestive enzyme that was completely 100% chemical free, because that's where it all starts, right? The digestive is where it begins. And then I wanted a purified detox, and then I wanted a elevated pre and probiotic. My whole team has had COVID. My kids have had COVID. I never got COVID. I think some of the things that I do that are kind of more radical for people, that if you realized how simple they are, like last night I did a baking soda enema, and it's simple. And what you'll notice at the end of it's not that even big of a deal. People just don't understand it. In fact, you go to the community and Body Temple, Facebook, Body Temple, search Body Temple community. And you could just even say to the coach, I'm interested in information on Steve's baking soda enema. But I will tell you at the very end, like no one wants to hear this, but this film looks like squid. And it's the bad bacteria that your body is releasing. Not all of it, because it's combined good and bad bacteria that is too much in your system. And so you definitely want a program or education that leads you to what you can put in your body that can help you heal on your own without having to spend a lot of money on supplements. And you'll notice that product is 25% off below the video. We talk about it in the video because it's 15 days. You can use it for 15 days, 100% money back guarantee. And then you're all assigned a coach. So the coach will even reach out, help you get acclimated about your 15-day kickstart detox. And so, we started off as a philanthropic movement, and that's what the community is all about. Just helping people, costs nothing. There's nothing for sale there. It's just like, it's all about helping people completely restore their health. The other thing that I would say is that even if you buy the greatest produce, it's dead produce. I grow sprouts, and it's not complicated. It takes me literally 5 minutes from germinating them to draining them a couple days later to planting them and watching them grow. And in my nutrient green smoothie, which is all I eat until 1 o'clock, meaning my last meal is 7:30 the next day, last night. And then I don't really eat till 1, but from 10 or 9:30 till about 12:30, I'm drinking my nutrient green smoothie, but it's pea sprouts, and I do wheatgrass enemas as well. Like, there's so much that you can do to restore your health. I'm 57 years old. People are always kind of blown away, especially at the gym and the sauna. They're like, dude, you're tight. How old are you? And my skin looks immaculate. I'll tell you, my protocol is so simple. It's just not complicated. Vegan recipes. We've got all sorts of vegan recipes at the end of the Kickstart. The Kickstart Detox Manual is a $197 gift that you get when you purchase the Purify Detox Formula, which is 25% off. It's nothing. But that manual is a manual that took us 8 months to write. We went back over it and started thinking about all the people that would be reading it and where they would be at. And some of you, your water source sucks and you don't even realize it. If you can't afford a really great Kagan or water unit, there's stores that have the best water in a hot, very expensive Purify unit that you can go fill up. Now, granted, some of you that are buying plastic, they're sitting in some of these warehouses for 10 months or a year. And the big lucite ones that you see, that go on the water units, right? You can just go, they'll fill that up for the week, a couple of them, and you're good to go for the week. But water source is huge. And you want to drink half your body weight in ounces. And what I never even realized, Anthony, is God, would you ever think the colon needed to be hydrated? I don't know why. Remember reading that thinking, wow, because your colon is what pulls the first amount of that water. So to be hydrated, it's just like super, super important. And then so you'll learn from the actual, it's called the Kickstart Gut Detox Manual, but you will also have a complete plan. And that's the beautiful part of it.
I love the water thing, and that's actually a reference we use to everyone is half your body weight in ounces. So I do agree with that. The easiest way to tell if you're hydrated is to go off the color of your urine. It should be very slightly yellow. If you a little more than that, guys, drink more water. Definitely agree. I don't know if I can get behind the baking soda enema personally, but
you know it. Yeah.
Have you
ever had any gut issues?
Yeah. So, like, great example of what you mentioned of us as humans. We're really bad. We know what we need to do, but we're really bad at following along. My gut issues all stem from me being super lactose intolerant and then loving cheese. So
cheese stays in your system for about 6 weeks, 4 to 6 weeks. You know that?
So good.
I know it's tough, dude. I get it.
But I agree that if we got more plant-based in our diet, and I don't think the percentage of Americans that get enough greens is like 5%. Don't quote me on the exact number, but it is really low.
Everybody thinks it's so expensive. If you looked at my bill, what I spend my money on, it is so not expensive. And there's a lot to understanding produce, and many of you aren't going with spice, and like garlic is amazing. It kills stuff. Onions, like getting into that family of like, there's so much produce that you can make, like even just vegetables that you put in the oven that you don't cook completely. And then you're like throwing in garlic, and you don't believe how it will restore your gut. Like it's incredible. And it's all in those vegan recipes are all at the bottom of that Kickstart Detox Manual. I mean, what will happen if you opt into the Kickstart Detox plan, which is complimentary, that 43-minute video? You'll see these 5 steps, and you will hear from a coach. They will only reach out twice and say, "This is Coach Veronica. Can I help you? Would you like to jump in a call, and I'll help you get through this Kickstart Detox program?" And it's 100% chemical free, or it's 100% complimentary. But I'll tell you why my mind went south, and then I'll end with this. I remember at 32 having a life that people would die for. I was in great shape. I had $1 million home. I had a beach home, happily married, ready to have a kid, winning every award I could in my sales business, 2 trips a year, and I was unhappy. I felt guilty from feeling unhappy. I didn't know why I wasn't unhappy. I was kind of scared about having the kid. Got that because of a bad relationship with my dad. But I remember praying for understanding and discernment. And I never answered my door because I worked out of my home. And one Tuesday morning, Holly, a rep that I used to work with, knocked at my door, and I hadn't seen her for 8 months, and she had completely transformed her life. Here's my point. I looked at her and I said, "How did you do all this?" She said, "I hired a coach." And I said, "A fitness coach?" Because she lost all this weight. And she said, "No, a life coach." And I said, "Really?" And I said, "Can I get her number?" And she said, "Just give her a call. She'll probably give you a session." If I would have never made that call, and I can't believe how many people our coaches reach out that don't even respond. And I'm like, I get it. Like, everybody thinks everybody has motive, but my God, they are so amazing about giving their time. If I would have not made that one call, I would have maybe never wrote the book that I'd never thought that I could make, write the 100 curriculums, create a whole leadership program, a podcast where I had 90,000 listeners. I would have never done that. I would have not, like, that coach just changed my life. That one call helped me see I had created a life of illusion based on my belief about what other people thought of me. I didn't even know who the hell I was. I didn't even know what made me happy. I didn't even know how to have fun. It was all about, man, achieving and accomplishing, because it's kind of how I was raised. And that's why I was so unhappy. And so that's why I just got to, like what Anthony said earlier, man, you just got to, like, talk to people where you're feeling the vibe. start talking to me, because we're all here on the earth to be in a relationship, and one person leads you to the next person that leads you to the next person, and all of a sudden all these great people are coming into your life and beauty happens. You're here to create, be in relationship.
Yeah, it's a lot to kind of take in, learn from it. And I do agree. Our motto for the show is tomorrow isn't going to wait for you. So why wait for tomorrow? It kind of
Right.
relates in to that aspect of doing things right away and taking control of your life now and not putting it off. And you never know when opportunity, and we've had a lot of guests on the show that kind of sparked from the same thing I do, where adversity took them into opportunity. And it's kind of leads into that same aspect. I had a conversation with a friend recently who is making good money and is steady paycheck and just isn't happy. And I was talking to him. I was like, why aren't you happy? He's like, because I want to do something for myself on my own, but I'm so happy making this kind of money. And I was like, yeah, but your happiness is way more important than money. And then if you enjoy doing something, the money will eventually come. So it's kind of that mentality all wrapped together.
Can we stay there a minute?
Yeah, I mean,
dialogue with you though. See, a lot of you listening or watching, you don't understand polarity. We live in a universe where there's complete opposites. And in my world, it's called contrast. And you see an adversity card that's dealt to you, which is an unwanted condition. See, contrast means wanted and unwanted, that you're not giving credence and value to unwanted conditions, because wanted conditions lead you to what you want. The problem is you just stay in that unwanted condition too long, and thoughts are real. Where the mind goes, the man follows. Thoughts held in mind reproduce in like kind. Gravity is the thing, and so is law of attraction. Within 17 seconds, your emotional body is sucking in all of that bad thing that you don't want. When you look at it and you're in the receptive mode, you say, isn't that interesting? I no longer enjoy doing that, or I no longer like hanging out with her. What might be other options? Talk out loud, slow your brain down. That's why I talk out loud. I mean, when I first started doing that, it's like my son would go, what? Are you talking to me? But slow your mind down, but be receptive. What he just said about that gentleman is that contrast led him to other opportunities. And that's where you want to invite it in. Just notice, I don't want this. Well, then what do I want?
Yeah, exactly. And I want to wrap this up, Steve. So I'm going to ask you the last two questions I ask everybody at the end of the show. First one is, if you were to summarize everything we spoke about, we did cover a wide array of stuff. Break it down to one or two sentences as a take-home message.
You need to create a morning ritual where you tap in to your source. You can call it God, Jesus, universe, higher guidance system, inner guidance system, higher self. And if you just start to slow down, you could know nothing about what you were going to do, and have a journal in front of you and start asking questions. What am I grateful for? What makes me happy? Who am I at my best? What have been some of my greatest successes? What do I want? You will notice that there is a guide that is simply taking you on a journey that you already knew before you got here. And then other information will start to show up. And what was the second question?
The second question is the easiest one. How can people find you, get a hold of you, all the good stuff?
Cool. BodyTempleKickstart.com, BodyTempleKickstart.com. That's the place to start. If I could hold any intention for you, it would be that you would give yourself 43 minutes to watch that video, even in 2 or 3 settings. And it's not even watching it, because it's all transcribed. You could be listening to it in the car. You could be at the gym working out. You could be walking your dog, and you could do it in 2 or 3 settings. But that is the value. That is everything that you've heard. That's what happens in podcasts. We jump around. There's a lot of information. It's all structured. That's what I do. I'm a structured guy. I'm actually known for that. That's why sometimes the keynotes are really easy for me, because I can just deliver it exactly the way that I wrote it. And so that will lead you. We do have a site, can you believe I'm forgetting? BodyTempleLOC.com, BodyTempleLOC.com. But there's no sales, and there's more gifts and goodies for you in the Kickstart detox plan. So BodyTempleKickstart.com is the first place to start.
I love it. And thank you guys for joining us on this week's episode of Health and Fitness Redefined. Don't forget, hit that subscribe button and join us next week as we dive deeper into this ever.
Subscribe.
And
I did.
remember, fitness is a journey, not a destination. Until next time.